Hey, everybody. Before we start this episode of One Hit Thunder, I wanted to tell you about another podcast on the Evergreen Podcast Network that you should check out, whether you're a sports fan like me or just enjoy a good story. It's called Press Box Access, and it's hosted by writer Todd Jones. He sits down with other sports writers who knew some of the greatest athletes and coaches, many of whom experienced firsthand some of the biggest sports moments of the past 50 years. Larry Bird versus Magic Johnson, the defensive greatness of Lawrence Taylor, the tragic death of Dale Earnhardt, social justice issues and protests in sports, and even fun discussions like who was better in their prime, Tiger Woods or Jack Nicklaus. You'll hear from the writers who covered these stories firsthand. People like Peter King, Dave Kindred, Kevin Blackistone, Liz Clark, and tons more. Personally, I'm waiting for an episode about Mario Lemieux being the greatest story in the history of sports. Can't believe they haven't made a movie about that guy yet. Anyway, yes, go subscribe to Press Box Access, a sports history podcast, wherever you get your pods, and go to youtube.com/@PressBoxAccess for some great video content as well. You'll be glad you did when you're sharing some great tidbits the next time you get together with the crew to watch the big game. In the spring of 1983, Til Tuesday transformed from a new band into the winners of Boston's Rock and Rumble competition. After quickly securing a deal with Epic Records, they released their debut album, Voices Carry. Thanks to regular airplay on MTV, the title track rose to number 8 on the Billboard Hot 100. Sadly, this unique band could never again match the success of the song. This week, we're joined by writer, musician, and Aimee Mann enthusiast Daniel Corey to discuss why we believe Til Tuesday's voices should have carried them much higher up on the charts.
One hit is all you need to make the money guaranteed, and you can live off royalties forever. And it makes me wonder, is it just a wonder, or is it one hit thunder?
Guys, I'm going to ask you right off the start here. Is it weird that I wasn't familiar with this song before today? Because I think everyone I talked to are like, yeah, Voices Carry, Til Tuesday. Of course I know that song. Why did I miss this song?
You didn't know it until just now?
I didn't know it until getting ready for this episode.
My goodness.
Yeah, I think I told you this, Chris, that I only vaguely knew this album because another band covered it on like an 80s comp that I bought. Like this one missed me as well somehow. Now, I know that one thing that it could be is that this song came out at a pretty stacked time on the charts in the 80s. Maybe we just missed out on it. Or it could also just be that, like, the lead singer's future solo endeavors greatly outshined the band.
Yeah, pretty much.
But, I mean, we normally do this later on in the episode, but just so we can paint a picture. What was the world like when Til Tuesday, Voices Carry, was at the top of everybody's minds? It peaked at its highest position of number 8 on the Hot 100 on July 13th, 1985. Let's run down what was also on that top 10 list real quick. Number 10, Cyndi Lauper, Goonies Are Good Enough.
Wow, I never knew that
song.
Was a top 10 song.
There we go.
That's a good one.
Number 9, Glory Days by Bruce Springsteen.
All right.
Another big one. Then this song at 8. 7, You Give Good Love by Whitney Houston. Number 6, Paul Young's cover of Hall & Oates' Every Time You Go Away.
Right.
Oh, I just heard that the other day.
Great song.
I feel like I remembered that song. I used to love that song as a kid. Forgot the song existed, and then it was hold music one time, and I was like, man, this song
there you go.
It's perfect hold music.
Why do you think the Eagles have the top selling album of all time now?
Yeah.
It's because all that hold music in dentist office.
Yeah,
you know?
anytime you call somewhere, you're hearing Desperado, and you're like, I should pick up that Eagles greatest hits record.
Yes, exactly.
Number 5, the Eurythmics with Would I Lie to You?
Oh my goodness.
Number 4, Survivor with The Search Is Over. And then this top 3 I love. Number 3, Raspberry Beret by Prince.
Oh, yeah.
Number 2, Susu Studio, Phil Collins.
Phil Collins,
And the number 1 song, the theme of the James Bond movie of that year, A View to Kill by Duran Duran.
Oh my gosh. That is a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot to compete against as like a kind of newish new wave band. And this is a band that one of the things that blew me away was they won Boston's Rock and Roll Rumble after being a band for 6 months. And that led to them basically getting signed from that moment. So it's not even like they were this band that was like in the trenches for years. Like it was just the right people combining and writing the right songs, and just like all of the right things happened to jumpstart this band.
How do I get in that situation?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, Daniel, I don't know if this is true.
Yeah.
This is what Matt told me ahead of time, that you're a major Aimee Mann head. Is this true?
Yeah, I love Aimee. Yeah,
He's an Aimee maniac.
Oh, there you go. There you go. I like that. Yeah, no, I listened to all of her albums. I love her. I've seen her twice. I've seen her twice at the Greek here in Los Angeles.
Nice.
And absolutely, I love her songwriting. I love her, everything about what she does. Yeah.
Yeah, getting ready for this episode, I really learned a lot about Aimee Mann that I did not know.
Oh, yeah.
Starting from the time when she was very, very young and was kidnapped by her own mother and taken to
I only
Europe.
learned that too when I was researching for this as well. That story I didn't know. She was apparently like 3. They took her off to Europe, and her father had to hire a private eye to bring her back. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Pretty wild. And so she got brought back to her father, but at that time she had been with her mother, who took her for so long that she felt like a stranger, because she came home and to a new stepmother and 2 stepbrothers. And she said it seemed strange after being reunited. And then one thing obviously I noticed about Aimee in these Til Tuesday music videos is she's a bassist, and she's a very good bassist, which, I appreciate a good bassist. But I saw that at age 12, she told her family she wanted to play bass, and her family ridiculed her, saying it was unladylike, so she didn't take up the bass till later. I didn't know playing bass was unladylike.
That's the kind of stuff they'd say, the girls in the 80s, I started off playing, my first instrument was a saxophone in the 4th grade. I played in the school band. And looking back, something there's a lot of gender lines drawn in the band room and just in music in general. Like, when you're in school band, at least in the 80s when I was a kid, it was like girls played woodwinds, girls played clarinet, and they played flute.
Right.
And they were allowed to play the piano, and they always needed a pianist at church. It was always a girl at the piano. I went to church and I took piano lessons, and I would play the piano in front of church, and everybody's like, "Oh, what is going on?
Yeah, who's this boy? Burn him!"
I know. No, but like, I remember this one family. The mom comes up, she's like, our boy Jay he's learning piano. Do you think you would be able to get up and play in front of the church again, so you can see a boy play piano? But yeah, I know it's crazy. But all that to say, like boys play trumpet and saxophone and drums. Right. So there's a weird thing with music. I don't know what it is. Like, playing the bass and even playing guitar. Like for girls, it's back then I never knew a girl guitarist. Now I love living here in LA. There's a ton of girl guitarists everywhere.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
no,
So
I guess when I think about it, there's Esperanza Spalding. I'm trying to think of like woman bass players. Kelly Deal. Kelly Deal played bass in the Breeders, right? I'm just trying to think of like
Kim Deal.
What? Kim played?
It's Kelly or Kim, one of them. I'm not sure which
who played
one.
guitar. And who
Kim
played
Deal
bass.
was the
I haven't seen them on MTV in a while.
Yeah, I haven't paid attention. Then you've got just like the all-girl groups too. So
sure.
Go-Go's Bangles.
Yeah, right. Somebody was playing bass.
Yeah. I have somebody. It's a big thing now. All female cover bands. You guys seen any of them perform? I remember there was one at the NAMM show a couple of years ago, that an Aerosmith band. They were called Ragdolls. They were awesome.
I think one of my
now.
One of my favorite tribute names is the all-female AC/DC cover band called AC/DC, which is such a good name.
I love it.
Well, anyway, Aimee Mann eventually went on to study bass at Berklee, and someone else who studied bass at Berklee who you would never think would. Do you know who I'm going to say, Matt?
No.
Somebody that you don't really think of with music. Eric Andre studied bass at Berklee. Just a strange fact there.
Comedian
yeah.
Eric Andre. Yeah, I do not associate him with music.
Yeah. Anyway, she dropped out of Berklee after 18 months. She joined the Boston punk band Young Snakes on the bass. She was unhappy in that band, and she said that the other members of the band objected to her writing love songs or music they considered too melodic, which I don't know. What makes music too melodic? Isn't melody like probably the most important part of music?
I would say that saying something's too melodic is the most 80s punk band thing I can imagine somebody saying. that's like a I mean, I didn't get to check out what that band was. I don't even know if there's any recordings that like exist to give us a hint, but just based on them saying this is too melodic, it either was probably like Sonic Youth inspired noise rock, or it was like DC hardcore inspired stuff where it's just like, just play fast and yell and it's about the passion.
Yeah, but it's like, you guys, you remember Rancid?
Of course.
They're very so melodic.
Melodic.
I interviewed for a magazine, Molly Tuttle is a famous bluegrass guitarist and singer.
Love
and she covered
Molly Tuttle. She did the best cover of Olympia, Washington. She does an incredible Chris, have you heard this?
Yes, I have. Yep.
And I had that discussion with her. I was like, Rancid, I mean, they wrote pop songs. I mean, it's this song was like, sounds like it was written for you. She sounded absolutely perfect.
It's one of my favorite covers. She does a very country and bluegrass cover of Olympia, Washington by Rancid. It's great. I'll put a little clip in here for the listeners to check out.
Hanging on the corner of 52nd and Broadway. Cars pass me by, but none seem to go my way. From New York City, when I wish I was on the highway. Back to Olympia.
But all that to say that punk music should be melodic too.
Yes.
And Aimee had it going. Had it going on.
I mean, my point is, if someone said to me, write a song that isn't melodic right now, I'd be like, I don't even know how to do that. Everything is a melody, even if it's a basic melody. It's like, how do you do that?
Yeah.
I don't understand. So
I don't know.
anyway, Young Snakes didn't know what they were talking about.
I was gonna say, Chris, you and I were texting about the Ramones, right? And if you look at the Ramones as early punk, even that's like da 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 da, like that's a melody.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, then after she left Young Snakes, she joined Ministry, and man, oh man, did I learn a lot about Ministry I did not know, because
I had no idea.
I knew Ministry as Jesus Built My Hot Rod / New World Order from the 90s. At some point, I had
Beavis and Butthead.
Yes. At some point, there was a t-shirt.
Is this a Christian band?
There was a store in the mall called Beer Tees in the mall I would go to as a kid. And it wasn't just beer tees, it was band t-shirts. So I would just try to get every band t-shirt. I had a Ministry.
Are you from Florida too?
No.
No, I'm sorry.
I had a Ministry t-shirt.
I think of the engine. I think of that engine, Jesus Built My Hot Rod.
That's what was on the t-shirt. That's what was on the t-shirt.
That's what you got. I knew that was the one.
But Al Jorgensen, I think of as this like long-haired, dirty, industrial guy from the 90s. Well, Ministry in the early 80s was very new wave, and it doesn't look like the same.
Almost like Soft Cell or something, right? Yeah.
And very much different than the Ministry that I knew from the 90s. And for a short while, Aimee Mann was a part of Ministry. And not only that, she dated Al Jorgensen for a while.
Oh.
And oddly, she fit way better into Ministry band at that time than this other one.
Right.
Who would ever thought she'd been a good fit in Ministry? But there you go.
Yeah. But Aimee obviously had something to say, and she had songs to get out of her, because she formed Til Tuesday, after playing in these bands, and by 1985 was signed to Epic and released the album Voices Carry, their debut album. And they went on to win the VMA for Best New Artist. And
did you see who they were up against?
No.
I wrote this down. So they won the Best New Artist award. They were up against Frankie Goes to Hollywood, Julian Lennon, Sade, and Sheila E.
Sheila E.
Sheila E. Who I'm not familiar with.
One of Prince's proteges.
Oh, that's it. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, the thing that I thought was interesting was what kind of got them signed to Epic was the same song that got them noticed on the radio, Love in a Vacuum. And everybody thought that was going to be the song.
Yeah, that's what they won the competition with,
yeah.
too. The Boston band competition, yeah.
Everyone thought that was going to be it. It was very unexpected when the title track, Voices Carry, actually became their runaway hit. And it was a song written about an argument she had with the drummer of Til Tuesday, who she had briefly dated. And there was a lot of did you read about the controversy about the original lyrics of the song?
Yeah,
because originally
gender
the song,
swapped.
Yeah, they had to change it from female pronouns to male pronouns because the label did not like the idea of this possibly being an argument between two women.
The same-sex relationship possibility was frightening to them.
Yeah, 1985.
Yeah, exactly. All these stories, there's a lot of the stories that seem to be real fifth hand. Now, I've seen this in an article, and I saw Wikipedia, and I watched a podcast on YouTube, and which it said Aimee has said at some point, yet it's not documented anywhere. She was talking to a male friend, they didn't say who had a girlfriend that wouldn't let him express affection in public. She didn't want people to know they were dating. Right. And that's why she wrote the song. She wrote the song from a male point of view, talking about a woman, but who knows, I don't know if that's true or not. I've heard that a couple of places. Yeah. I've read that a couple of places. So it could have been about a same-sex relationship. It could have been about, her singing from the male perspective. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I've said this before. I think we've said it on this show before. Not directly tied to this, but just a pet peeve of mine. If you're a guy and you're covering a song written by a girl, you do not change those pronouns. You get to be gay for the 5 minutes you sing that song.
That's one of your. That's a pet peeve of yours. I never knew that.
Yeah, I hate it. I hate when people change it for the song. Just sing the words as they were written.
Yeah,
yeah. It's odd because when a lot of female artists have covered songs by men, and there she goes.
Yeah, Sixpence None the Richer kept it. There she goes. They didn't change it to There he goes.
But you go back I think Joan Baez did she wants a man with a slow hand or something. I don't remember which one, but there's been a long history of this, and it's always been okay for these established female artists to sing a song written by a man and not change the pronouns. And everybody's like, oh, she's singing from a male perspective. It's okay. I just never, I honestly too, I never got that. I never understood that. And guys would never, you're right. Men would never be allowed to sing, at least back then, a song from a female perspective and not change the pronouns. Everybody would lose their minds.
Yeah. I don't want to hear some edgy screamo band singing about how they're a hollerback boy. If you're going to cover that song, you're a hollerback girl for those 3 minutes.
Is a hollerback boy a thing? If it's not, maybe it should be. Hey, but
I don't even know what a hollerback girl is, honestly. But I've heard the song. I'm just like, okay, cool, whatever.
Look, the thing though that I really think helped this song pop. Now, the song is interesting. The song isn't an over-the-top, sugary sort of pop song. It's a song. Because I wasn't familiar with this, it took me like 4 or 5 listens to this song to be like, okay, I like this. It grew on me a lot. The first time I listened to it, I didn't take a lot away from it. And I don't know if everyone listens to music differently. But what I think a big point in the corner of this song was the music video, which you can watch the music video now and be like, oh, that's cheesy as hell. That's a cheesy 80s music video. I think at the time it was groundbreaking because it was that's what made the song. It made the band. The video. And it gave a voice to women, or at least exhibited what women in a sort of emotional, or even at a certain point in this video, physically abusive relationship might go through. And then Voices Carrying became this whole other thing that I wouldn't have thought of had I not seen the visuals of the music video while listening to it. Hey everybody, Chris Fafalius here. One thing that people who know me know about me is that I like to eat. Even more so, I like to eat good food. And by good food, I mean that I like to eat good, farm fresh food that's delivered right to my door and is easy to prepare. I think you know where I'm going here. That's why I love HelloFresh. There's a reason why HelloFresh is America's #1 meal kit. It's because it makes home cooking easy, fun, and affordable, and lets you skip out on those annoying trips to the grocery store. Look, we all have crazy schedules, which makes it easy to fall into a dinner time rut. I've had my share of frozen pizzas, believe me, but with HelloFresh, you can keep mealtime exciting with over 40 recipes to choose from every week, so there's always something delicious to discover. With so many in-season ingredients, you'll taste the freshness of fall in every bite of HelloFresh's chef-crafted recipes. Produce travels from the farm to your door for peak ripeness you can taste. Okay, listen to how good this deal is. Go to HelloFresh.com/51hit and use the code 51hit for 50% off plus free shipping. That's code 51hit. That's the number 50 and the words 1hit, all is one word with no spaces, at HelloFresh.com/51hit to get 50% off plus free shipping. That's seriously an insane deal. There's a good reason why HelloFresh is America's #1 meal kit.
The number you have reached is 100.7 WMMS.
It wasn't just a radio station, it was a lifestyle.
Cleveland is a rock and roll city for sure.
Get down! The Wrath of the Buzzard. WMMS. Cleveland.
The rise and fall of one of the most iconic radio stations in America. Profiles, The Wrath of the Buzzard. PROH Files. Subscribe now wherever you get podcasts.
Meanwhile, in New Jersey...
So, Marissa, what talking points do you want to hit on in this week's episode?
Well, Jackie, let's talk about how the film addresses the patriarchy. Ooh, and representation of marginalized people. Ooh, and even philosophical ramifications of good versus evil in horror.
We can point out the triangle boobs, talk about the blood splatter, and the practical effects. And also the male gaze?
My gaze at the males.
Hi-oh! From feminism to fangirling, the Jersey Ghouls cover all the bases of horror from a woman's perspective.
New episodes are uploaded every other Sunday.
Just search Jersey Ghouls to find us on social media and your favorite podcasting app.
I want to talk a little bit about another big thing with this group. The group's career is kind of short-lived. They put out 3 albums, and it was... As far as the charts were considered, it was kind of diminishing returns from this, right? Like they were putting out albums and they weren't, like the singles weren't hitting, the albums weren't selling, but critically, they just kept getting better in the eyes of the critics. And I believe that Daniel, before we even hit record, told me that he actually prefers the second album by Til Tuesday way more than the Voices Carry album.
I do really like the second album a lot. I think they're all really good, but there's the second album is Coming Home, and the opening track "What About Love" was supposed to be the flagship single, and it didn't perform. Yeah, and it's a great song, and it is a little bit more like the previous album with the kind of the dreamy guitar sounds and the synth and everything. But when you get, my favorite song is the second track on there. It's called "Coming Up Close," and I don't know if that was there. I don't think that was ever a single or anything. But it's acoustic guitar. You got some twangy Telecaster in there, and she even references Bob Dylan. Got into the car, put in a Bob Dylan tape. She says, it's so much more like what her future stuff would be. It's much more folky. Production wise, you can still has that '80s kind of thing going, but that album as a whole is a little more folky, I think. That's why I really like it.
So I think that's why they had trouble selling a lot of it, though, is that they very quickly, I mean, by their second album, they were already kind of shying away from the new wave sound more and more on each record, which, is absolutely the type of thing that critics are going to eat up and that fans in that moment might not like, but, revisionistly, people will look back and be like, oh, these albums are great.
Well,
yeah.
Hey, that second album, Welcome Home, came out in 1986. That song, What About Love, was my favorite. I dove deep into the Til Tuesday catalog. That song, which is the first single and the first track on the album, that is my favorite song by far. Instantly added it to my playlist of songs I listen to all the time. I think we also got to talk a little bit about Aimee Mann's iconic look in the 80s, which I would have never known in a million years that was her. She has big, wild hair with one long braid coming out of it. She looks very punk rock in these videos, in which her, in the video for Voices Carry, is one of the things that her asshole abusive boyfriend says to her in the dialogue over top of it. Is this the new image or something?
Yeah, it's like, so glad the band's doing well.
Right.
What's with the hair? Is that or something like that? It's at the very beginning of the video, and you're just like right out of the gate, like, oh, there's no question of whether or not I like this guy. You know?
No redeeming qualities of this guy. he's just awful.
And also, he's also just prototypical 80s guy, right? You know, if you look at like they at that time they identified what the 80s guy was, you know, and it's like if you think of it as like Hart Bachner, I think his name is from Die Hard. That guy who's like snorting coke off his desk, like, hey man, I can make a deal, I'll get the guy for you. You know, that's like prototypical 80s guy. That's what this guy is in the Till Tuesday video.
Well, Daniel, I want to also let you know, I'm looking at their Wikipedia right now, and Coming Up Close was the second single off of Welcome Home. It did terribly. It peaked at 59 on the Billboard charts. But I think that you're not alone in loving that song, because their greatest hits compilation is called Coming Up Close, a retrospective of Till Tuesday.
So
that may be a favorite of the band to want to name their greatest hits after. Because that's rare to name your greatest hits compilation after one of your lowest performing singles.
Right. Yeah. It has a special meaning though, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's interesting. They did have a new wave styling to them. You know, there was something, it's a touch of it, you know, and that's the thing about Voices Carry. It's a very odd song. It like when you hear just the opening, just the first 4 bars, it's this crunchy guitar. It's kind of rock, you know, it's a soft mellow beat, but you got a rock and roll element to the song. Chung, 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 the power chords. And then you have the keyboard comes in. Wow, 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 wow. There's your new wave part. You know, her voice is just, it's just, this female bass alto. She didn't sound like anything. You can't say what that brings. It brings Aimee Mann to the song. She's her own genre, Right. So that song was such an odd blend. It just hit just right. It hit the right time. It had exactly the right sound, the exact blend of elements. The new wave people are like, oh, there's some new wave in there. I can listen to this. The rock people are like, oh, there's some rock in there. I can listen to this. Pop fans, it's definitely a pop song too.
Yeah.
It just hit. And then it just like all these other excellent songs they had just didn't hit because it didn't have, I don't know, they didn't have that right combination. Like the one that was Love in the Vacuum, the one that was supposed to be, that's a good song too. It's a little more 80s pop sounding even than Voices Carry is, I think. I don't know. Sometimes things just don't land. You think about like, if you hang out with me long enough, you're about 5 minutes in conversation, you end up talking about Blade Runner. It's the same thing. Why was Blade Runner a flop? And now it's this iconic, legendary movie, it didn't land right,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Sometimes being in the middle of different genres of music, if you don't go too hard in one of those areas, I think I've maybe experienced this a little bit in my own music career, is if you don't commit too hard to one thing, then I don't know. Sometimes it doesn't work out, but hey, it worked out enough for Till Tuesday, considering they did have a hit. I'm sure there were 10,000 new wave bands that had no hits. So they did have a hit, and they had it pretty quick, considering they had only been a band for 6 months before they played this Battle of the Bands in Boston and ended up getting signed. It all happened very fast for them.
But it also burned out really fast too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I think the whole band's overall 3 albums was like a 5-year career. You know what I mean? Like, they put out their 3rd and final album, Everything's Different Now, in 1988, and I don't even think they went on tour for it. I think they broke up pretty soon after that release. Now, Aimee Mann still continued to tour under the name Till Tuesday with some session musicians, including John Bryan as her touring guitarist. But that was because there was apparently some legal issue with Epic that was keeping her from being able to put out solo records for a little bit.
Yeah, so it took like 3 years or something for her to get free of that contract so she could do solo. And then her solo album was like in like 93, I think.
Yep. Whatever her first solo album came out in 1993.
Yeah. I just want to throw out that from the third album, the song that I really like is called "Believed You Were Lucky." That is a very terse, like very ironic, lots of irony, lots of sarcasm, and there's a very unexpected F-bomb that happens at the end of the song where you're just like, "Whoa, they didn't do that on a Til Tuesday record. They do that on a pop album from the '80s." But it has meaning. You're just it brings the sarcasm to the statement.
Nice.
You're one. Okay, so as soon as you start talking about that, I was like, wait a second. You were like bringing a memory back into my head because I was listening to Til Tuesday, and I was like doing dishes, and I remember out of nowhere I just hear her go like, "You're fucking lucky," and I was like, I was like, what? Like, it felt like both super out of place, but also like it grabbed my attention. Like whatever was like background music, suddenly I was like, wait, I have to listen to the song again to make sure that I didn't like misunderstand what I think I just heard. Because it's not what you expect for the song.
Yeah, it's it really just punches you in the face because the point she's making with that song, she's like, "Oh, you were lucky. You were so great. You were so effing great."
Yeah,
it's just so sarcastic. So, and something I'll say about her music overall, like my wife and I were talking about this the other day. Like when I've seen her and she talks to the audience, she always goes on about how depressing she is, how depressing her songs are. Yeah, my songs are so depressing. Everything's depressing. But like the thing is, like I don't get depressed listening to her music. And I'm like, I said to Brenda, my wife, I'm like, what? I mean, her stuff's melancholy and it's sad, but I don't get depressed listening to it. And she's like, well, she's like an adult. She takes responsibility for whatever it is she's talking about in whatever song. Mm-hmm. It's not just like, oh, my soul is dark and I'm so sad. It's like, well, here's kind of why. Right. Maybe I'm a little at fault. Maybe you're a little at fault. There's always this nuanced, like mature discussion. And I think that's why, I think it's okay. She can be melancholy all day and I could still listen to it because there's always a sense of responsibility.
Yeah.
I feel like Aimee Mann became one of these people where I feel like I knew the name Aimee Mann more than I knew the music of Aimee Mann. Mm-hmm. Like it was a name. I feel like she became a real like musician's musician. Like you would hear other artists talk about how inspired they were by the music of Aimee Mann. Because I assume the biggest song that most people would know by her solo-wise would be "Save Me" from the Magnolia soundtrack because it was like everywhere.
That's how I knew her.
Yeah.
That's how
I it brought her back into the limelight, and that was in 1999, and that was, 14 years later. And I'm sure you guys all seen the quote too about how she said that really gave her transfusion to her career.
Yeah.
That whole movie, for anybody who hasn't seen it, it's Magnolia, but it's it's a Paul Thomas Anderson film. So, Paul Thomas Anderson, he might be like kind of the next Robert Altman, maybe, he's like this, this guy who does very original stuff with everybody wants to be in his movies. And like Magnolia was this 3-hour epic, just character study type of film. And the movie was kind of was based on, it was almost a concept film based on the music and lyrics of Aimee Mann. And she's all over the soundtrack.
Yeah.
And
I feel like similar to Altman, very divisive movies.
Mm-hmm.
People either absolutely love it or absolutely hate it every single time.
Though, he made...
I mean, he's your favorite because he made Boogie Nights.
Yeah, Boogie Nights is my favorite. And I know that that's not the cool one to say is your favorite. Oh, my favorite's There Will Be Blood, or my favorite's that Licorice Pizza. That's definitely not my favorite. But
no, Punch Drunk Love might be my favorite.
Punch Drunk Love was all right. But that definitely gave her a big kick in her career. And I can't believe it's the same person. Once again, I want to take it back to the 80s, Aimee Mann. I texted Matt as soon as I saw this. That video for What About Love, she looks exactly, and I saw someone else, this was a topic on Reddit. Someone had written this, and so I wasn't the first person to think this. She looks exactly like Saturday Night Live alumni Kate McKinnon. She looks exactly like her. Even on the cover of that one album, I'm like, oh my God, that's Kate McKinnon. It looks exactly. Yeah. I'm sure I wouldn't be the first person to tell her that.
She reminds me of Daryl Hannah a bit.
Okay.
But then again, that's the Blade Runner mind, I guess.
I see that
of mine. So, but yeah, because you think of Daryl Hannah as Pris with that, she had the 80s blonde moppy wig and those. Yeah, like the hairstyle that the guy complained about in the Til Tuesday video.
Yeah. So I do love this real quick. The song "Save Me," the original solo song from Aimee Mann. It was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Original Song. But but then it lost to Phil Collins' You'll Be in My Heart from the movie Tarzan. And since that day, whenever she is performing the song live, she always refers to the song as the song that lost an Oscar to Phil Collins and his cartoon monkey love song.
I mean, she's up against Phil Collins and Disney. That's a formidable. Yeah. I mean,
you're going to lose that fight. They're going to put more money into the
race.
I
know. I mean, it's a nice song. I'm not going to say. I'm going to say I like Phil Collins. Okay, he's a great vocalist and all this. But I've learned to since I've become a recording artist myself. I'm like, you know what? Everybody's got something.
Yeah. Also,
everybody's got something to offer.
Yeah. Also for that particular year, it was the year that was 1999. It was the 72nd, dyslexia kicking in there, 72nd Academy Awards. Other nominees included Music of My Heart, as performed by Gloria Estefan and NSYNC, When She Loved Me by Randy Newman from Toy Story 2, and Blame Canada by Trey Parker and Matt Stone.
Wow.
I remember that performance.
Robin Williams sang the song on stage for them, and it was great.
It's interesting because I didn't even realize I didn't remember that was the same year, the Robin Williams performance. I remember the Phil Collins and the Aimee Mann, him because he won and her because she's the one I wanted to win,
Yeah.
And I'll throw out another tidbit, like her Twitter bio for a while said, Academy Award loser, period.
Nice. Love that.
Again, there's that kind of terse melancholy, but kind of owning up. Yeah. She's like, I was nominated, but I lost.
Yeah.
Going to be dating myself here, but that was the year I got married, so it was a great year.
Wow, there he goes.
Very nice.
1999 was the best year in Daniel's life, possibly.
Daniel's always partying like it's 1999.
Tell me about it. No raspberry berets. We're all about 1999.
Yeah, right.
That's true. That's true.
Hey, did you guys? Did you guys see that? Speaking of Aimee Mann having a sense of humor about everything and whatever, that in 2012, the music video for her song Labrador is a shot-for-shot remake of the Voices Carry music video. It has John Hamm is in it. He's playing the director of the video. She's acting like, no, I don't want to do that. And John Worster plays the weird boyfriend in the video. I thought that was pretty funny to remake, however many, 25, more than that years later, remake your own music video. Thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, that was kind of owning. She's kind of taking a little ownership, back maybe. She's like, oh, I didn't talk about this for a while. Let's address this.
Right.
That's really funny.
Something I didn't realize was she did a new version of Voices Carry in 2005 for the 20th anniversary. Because when I've seen her, she's never touched any Til Tuesday. The two times I've seen her, she never played any Til Tuesday music, and I thought, oh, she's just put that behind her, but. She did do recording, and on YouTube there are you can see her play it live. Like the first time I saw her was in 2017. She was on tour with Jason Isbell, and there's a really nice video of 2017 of her in a church doing a concert, and she sings this all acoustic version of Voices Carry. Oh yeah, it's magical, right?
Great.
You just like the acoustic guitars, just like that wall of sound, and the piano just lilting over it, and her. Beautiful. I just kind of got, the song always had kind of this almost transcendental trance-like quality to it anyway, especially when you get to the end, when you have her and you have all the descant voices singing over her at the end. And then she starts chanting, kind of singing really hard that's when she stands up in the video.
Yeah.
But that whole part with that wash of voices, that's really nice production.
Yeah.
It just lulls you into a trance. And the acoustic version's the same. It's just really lulls you into this state of really, okay, I'm here, I'm listening.
Right.
It makes me think of, and I don't think that this is the case with Aimee Mann and the guys from Til Tuesday, but maybe it is. I think of a 90s group that I love, Soul Coughing. They put out these.
Oh, I love them. Yes.
Yeah, they put out they put out their 3 albums, and then they broke up, and it was not a very clean breakup. There was a lot of, according to Mike anyway, a lot of stolen money and a lot of bad contracts and a lot of bad blood.
Yeah.
And that made him never want to perform those songs live again. And it was something like 20 years later, put out an album of him redoing his favorite Soul Coughing songs the way he performs now. That was more stripped down and more acoustic and bassy and stuff like that as kind of a way to be all right, I'm not going to perform these the way that you know them because that's not the artist I am anymore. But if you're coming to my show and you want to hear soul coughing songs, this is probably going to be the way that you'll hear it, because I'm mostly a guy with an acoustic guitar now, and I can't do these like sample heavy bass groove songs solo anymore. So here's like the reinterpretation. So I wonder if that was an element of it too with Voice Carry, was just like the songs weren't always going to translate, but like this song means something to people, and if they're coming to see me live expecting to hear it, let me reorganize it in a way that makes sense with the rest of my set, so it doesn't stick out like a sore thumb when it shows up in the middle of the set.
Before we decide if it's thunder or blunder, one thing I thought was really funny, so bringing it back to Ministry, Al Jorgensen from Ministry, he claimed that Aimee Mann told him that Voices Carry was written about him. And here's what he said.
Do you want to claim that?
Yeah. Here's what he said about it. He said, the only good thing about being in Boston was hooking up with Aimee Mann. She split her time between her place and mine, where she was living with another guy. What we had was so much more than just a fling, and we've stayed in touch over the years. She told me the hit song she did with Til Tuesday, Voices Carry, was about me, which was very flattering. To which Aimee Mann said, No More Crying is about Al Jorgensen, and nothing else on the album is, which made me go look up the song No More Crying. And let me just read you the lyrics of No More Crying. There is no love here. There is no love. Only some sort of blackmail. Whatever you feel probably only comes down to male and female. No more crying. which I thought was pretty
she's a big fan
harsh,
of Al.
Harsh.
I
love he
that's
thought
harder
that
than anything Ministry's going to put out.
I love that he thought the hit was about him.
Well, dudes are going to think that way.
Yeah.
But yeah. I follow Aimee's Instagram, and I recommend everybody. She draws comic strips about her life, and there's always, just all the humor and all the irony of her music she brings in, to everything. She posted a picture of a bank statement. She's like, here's a bank statement that I found from 1985 when my band had a top 10 song, and she had $300 in her savings account.
Wow.
Yeah.
I would think back then that having a hit song, I would think now people would be like, my song has 50 million streams and I got $400 in the bank. But I would think back then that if you had a hit that you'd be loaded. But I think I'm wrong.
Record company takes everything. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think you need more than one.
Yeah.
Or I think the other problem is that, I think of a group like SR71 who was a one-hit wonder in the 90s, but that song has appeared in so many movies and TV shows that I'm sure that it's more than made up for, even if they signed a bad contract at that point. You know what I mean? But Voices Carry, I don't even think showed up in a lot of other media that much. It seems like it's very much a song from the 80s that kind of lived in the 80s. Now, if they use it in this final season of Stranger Things, who knows?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Maybe they will.
And it'll be very, very good for our podcast if that's the case. Yeah, let's both do the Thunder Blunder. And then before we bounce, we got to talk about this. Talking about Aimee Mann's cartoons, we got to talk about an animated music video from our guest here.
Yeah. Well, we could start with, is Til Tuesday, did they bring the one-hit thunder or were they a one-hit blunder? Daniel, I think I know where we're going for you on this one.
Thunder. And their whole catalog was really great. They just I wish things had worked out better for them.
Yeah. I'm going with Thunder as well. While I think that there are definitely standout tracks, I listened to probably 2 hours of Til Tuesday preparing for this episode, and I didn't hear a bad song in those 2 hours. And I'm assuming you're going to be the same, Chris, because you picked a non-Voices Carry song to add on your favorite songs list. I feel like that's an automatic Thunder.
Yeah. What about Love? It won me over. I actually texted that music video to my text thread with my friends, hey, check this out. This is really good. I mean,
should have been a hit.
That's the highest praise I can give it.
A wonderful song.
And obviously this launched the career of a beloved solo artist. So who am I to call it a blunder? It is definitely Thunder.
Absolutely.
But Daniel, you've got, I know you for comics and San Diego Comic-Con, but you're also a musician. You have a new music video. Did you draw this video?
Oh no, I don't draw honestly. Yeah,
okay.
When it comes to comics, I'm a writer,
That's
and
right.
so
okay.
most of my most of what I did was like the stuff I did with Image was drawn by Anthony Dietchidue, and I'm sure you've met Anthony.
Yeah.
I did another book called Bloodworth, and Chris Fenolio drew that, and I worked with Dave Lanphier. Yeah, so I don't draw, but I do visualize, like I like making collage art with photographs. I'm a bit of a photographer. I like doing the Photoshop thing, and then I got into the AI stuff with Midjourney and all this, and a lot of people don't like that, but I like to use the AI stuff as a middle point of a process, so like everything I created. So the song that I released is called Lift Me Up, and it's available on Spotify and all the platforms right now. And I made a video to it, and the song is kind of a rootsy, almost gospel-y type song with acoustic guitar and piano, and me singing, and my good friend Alex Calise singing it, and Alex and Dennis Morehouse produced it. And it's a very stripped down kind of acoustic Americana song. But I have this thing in my head I call Cyber Americana, and I like to take things to the cyberpunk place. So I'm like, I'm going to create a cyberpunk music video to go with my rootsy Americana song, because nobody's paying me to do this, and nobody asked for it, and it's not coming out of their tax dollars. So I'm going to do what I want. So yeah, what I did, I took pictures of my guitars, downtown LA, our trip to Tokyo, macro shots of old antique documents, all this weird stuff that I do for my Map of the World project, which you can find on Instagram. And I mashed everything up and created these sci-fi like images, and I put them through Midjourney to finesse them. And then I edited them more heavily in Photoshop. And then I went into Kyber and Stable Diffusion, and you're able to kind of create these chaotic animations, but also kind of direct like what happens and direct the camera movements and stuff like that. Anyways, I did that I spent about 8 months. I created over 1,000 images. I was like 200 shots for this or something for this video. And it was very meticulous. And that's basically how I did it. And I edited everything together in Premiere and After Effects and all that. So a lot of traditional tools with the new tools. My friend Chris Gregson filmed me for the parts where I appear. I want to give everybody credit who worked on it. Yeah. So that's, it's animation of a sort. But, it's a combination of Adobe Suite and a lot of sweat there, and then using AI tools and trying to keep that under control and make it work right. And it was almost a year. From recording the song to creating the video and finishing the video was about a year.
Damn.
We had our theatrical premiere at the Chinese Theater in Hollywood,
nice,
at the Silicon Beach Film Festival, and I won. And I got to go up and sing my acceptance speech like a boss.
Nice. Congrats, man. That's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Hell
It was
yeah.
so, yeah, it's been a good year. Some nice things have happened. So
Nice, man.
Well, thank you for coming on the show, and listeners, you'll get to hear a little bit of that song right now on the outro.
Lift me up when I'm falling, lift me up and let me see. Reach out, pull me from down under. I'm so blind, I wanna be free. I've been reeling, I've been falling, I've been thrashing in this heat. I've been locked out in downtown. I've been left out in the street.
This has been One Hit Thunder. One Hit Thunder is hosted by Chris Fafalios of the band Punchline and produced by Matt Kelly of Geekscape.net. Underneath me, you're hearing Lift Me Up from this week's guest, Daniel Corey. Check out the music video for the song using the link in our show notes. Be sure to check out punchline.com for any upcoming news about the band. Our podcast is on Patreon now. Find us at patreon.com/OHT podcast for early access to episodes, bonus episodes, and a chance to vote for future songs that we cover. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe to us on your favorite podcasting app, and tune in next week for more One Hit Thunder.
Beast inside of me, I've been busting out at the speed of light, out of time and I'm out of sight. Turn around quickly, you can see my trail. I'll conquer this, we will prevail. Lift me up when I'm falling, lift me up and let me see. Reach out, pull me from down under. I'm so blind, I wanna be free. Lift me up when I'm falling, lift me up and let me see. Reach out, pull me from down.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.
The number number you have reached is 100.7 WMMS.
It wasn't just a radio station, it was a lifestyle.
Cleveland is a rock and roll city for sure.
Get down! The Wrath of the Buzzard. WMMS. Cleveland.
The rise and fall of one of the most iconic radio stations in America. Profiles, The Wrath of the Buzzard. PROH Files. Subscribe now wherever you get podcasts.
Hey there, I am Johnny Christ from Avenged Sevenfold, and I've got a podcast called Drinks with Johnny you're going to want to check out. I sit down with a bunch of different people from all different walks of life, from professional wrestlers to actors, comedians, fighters, musicians, everything in between. I'm just looking to make some friends and have a good time doing it. So if that sounds like something you're into, go check out Drinks with Johnny, streaming everywhere now.